Good day to everyone. Welcome once again to Tuesday morning news brief from the desk of the United Workers' Party. Today with me will be the Public Relations Officer of the United Workers' Party, Mr. Lenard Spider Montoute. But I guess I'll be opening the baton today. I bring you special greetings, and I acknowledge that it is a day when the world will be paying very careful attention to the U.S. elections. Maybe one of the most critical elections we have seen in recent times. While we have our own problems here in St. Lucia, but I know everybody's attention would be focused on the voting taking place in the U.S. between the Democrats and the Republicans. All independent thinkers in this country who have voiced their opinion or their positions on any matter have been attacked in one way or the other by the St. Lucia Labour Party. And you have to ask yourself, is it a new manner of introducing another 361 in St. Lucia, where people cannot speak freely about what they see that is wrong with this present government? And of late, the two most recent attacks were leveled at two gentlemen that I have the greatest admiration for, Mr. Rick Wynn and Timothy Polion. Now, I know these gentlemen are more than capable of standing their ground and defending their position. But I think I need to add my voice to the debate and to say, I am proud of persons like Rick and Timothy because I know these are media persons who cannot be bought or sold. They stand on a matter of principle. And you would recall, many years ago, Tim was attacked by the St. Lucia Labour Party and labeled a media terrorist. Is that what we are experiencing? Is that why there is so much fear in our country today? That everyone is afraid to speak because they will become the subject of discussion on a Thursday night talk show? We will deal with this and a myriad of other issues that affect us here in St. Lucia. We have told you several times before that Labour Party continues to tell lies to the people of St. Lucia. And of most recent times, I was in Soufrière on Sunday night, to be precise, and there were two football matches, or soccer if you want to call it, at the Soufrière mini stadium. And I was happy to see the hundreds, if not thousands of St. Lucians who were there. And for a moment I had a flashback, and I remembered how many times the Labour Party indicated that the turf being used was cancer-causing turf, and convinced many St. Lucians that it was a bad thing to establish these modern sporting facilities. Strangely enough, they are the most frequent occupiers of these very same turf they said that was cancer causing. I believe by now an apology is in place to all St. Lucians for misleading them and lying to them about the modern facilities that was being implemented by the Alan Chasney-led UWP government. Our focus this morning, we have to highlight key issues that continue to affect the lives of the average St. Lucian. And top on the list is healthcare. But I want you to understand a few things that are very, very important. Because what we have in St. Lucia today is crisis after crisis in governance. A United Workers' Party, when elected into office, as soon as the next election is called, will have to fix healthcare, reduce the cost of living, reduce the crime surge in this country. This is our focus. And while we highlight what is being done by the St. Lucia Labour Party, we also have the task of putting plans together for a rescue mission for St. Lucia. We need to rebuild the reputation of our country. We need to build back the middle class so that the middle class can help lift the rest of the population that is on the lower end out of poverty. It is never government that lifts people out of poverty. When you have a good middle class that is working well and productive and profitable, they help to lift those who are at the lower end. We have a plan, and by the grace of God, we can do it. UWP did it after the SLP disaster of 1979 to 82. And then again, SLP came in and created disaster after disaster between 97 and 2006. And we saw the demise of the banana industry. The UWP came in, and between 2006 and 2011, we were able, despite the global financial meltdown, maybe the worst we saw since the Great Depression, and then we were able to keep St. Lucia stable. We were able to keep the country going. Even after the disaster of Hurricane Thomas, St. Lucia was on a rebound. But St. Lucians once again elected the St. Lucia Labour Party with what they believed was a reformed Dr. Kenny Anthony in 2011. But by 2014, we had hit rock bottom again. And Dr. Anthony said something happened that had never happened before. And what was that? St. Lucia could not raise any money on the regional market to keep its operations going. Fortunately, St. Lucians made the right choice in 2016, and we were able once again, the United Workers' Party, to rebuild this country, to put the finances back in order, to carry out the most comprehensive road repair program ever seen in a single term in government in St. Lucia. All of that amidst COVID and the challenges that the world faced. St. Lucia proved under United Workers' Party to be one of the best managed government when it came to COVID. We were able within months to convert Victoria Hospital into a respiratory hospital and move VH to the OKEU hospital. All of that happening amidst COVID. So what UWP has done before, UWP can do again. And that is to rescue St. Lucia from where it is today. And we have crisis after crisis being created by the St. Lucia Labour Party. We have a healthcare crisis. We have a fuel price crisis. We have a bread crisis, because I know families cannot afford bread on their tables. We have a crime crisis. And so, when the UWP call on St. Lucians to join in the Orange March, to join in the Orange protest, it does not necessarily mean that you have to be marching somewhere. But you need to be flying something orange to say that you are displeased with the price of fuel, that you are displeased with a lot of the things that we are seeing happening in St. Lucia on a day-to-day basis. Now, if we are going to fix all of these problems in St. Lucia, we need the help of the people. Speaking about St. Lucia today, under an SLP, Philip JPL-led administration, is like listening to a deaf announcement. You only hear of what used to be, not what is. You know, usually when people die, they tell you all the nice things about them. Sometimes you hear the bad too. But it's as if St. Lucia has died and all the good was in the past. Because after almost 4 years of Labour Party reign under Philip JPL, here is what we have to show. We say when things were good. Can you believe that the government removed 3,000 workers from the employment list or unemployment list, people who are seeking for jobs, in order to be able to say that the unemployment rate is the lowest that it has ever been? So what am I saying? Let me break this down so you can understand. If it is 6 weeks you are looking for a job and you have not found one, they cross out your name from the list of unemployed in St. Lucia. So you are not unemployed and you are not employed. So I want the Labour Party to tell us in which category these people find themselves. You know what category they put you in? That you don't want employment. And I can tell you, as a member of the United Workers' Party, the hundreds of young people, young men, grown men, fathers, single mothers, who are out there desperately trying to find a job. And rather than the government creating opportunities to create jobs in this country, what they have done is they have removed about 3,000 people from the list. What kind of government would do something like this? Have anyone come forward and explain the new method of calculation for the unemployment rate in St. Lucia. So, you think removing the 3,000 people from the workforce, so they are neither employed nor unemployed. So it's as if Labour Party have erased you from the equation. But around election time, they will come and offer these same people $200 and $300 and say, vote for me. That is what the Labour Party is good for. Now, they have removed another 700 people from the poverty list. Now, I can tell you, without any survey, people are poorer today in St. Lucia than they were 5 years ago. Why would you remove 700 people from the poverty list when people are struggling more than they have ever struggled before? When the cost of living is the highest it has ever been in the history of this country. What kind of government would do this? A wicked and heartless government. A minister that 15 or 17 ministers can sit in a cabinet knowing the plight of the people of this country, and every one of them can vote, yes, I agree, to remove these 700 people from the list of persons getting assistance from the government of St. Lucia. I need to add that while when UWP came into office, we did not remove anybody from the paupers list. We added 1,000 persons during COVID whom we believe needed that additional assistance. That is apart from the thousands of meals distributed. That is apart from the boxes of food that was distributed. Today, we are in a worse crisis than COVID caused by this present Labour Party government. And if there's anybody in the Labour Party with a conscience, they have a few ladies who sit in the cabinet. And I cannot believe that a woman's heart can be so wicked and so mean, understanding what it is. We know the Prime Minister said he doesn't go to the supermarket. I don't even think he has a kitchen at his home, because I think his kitchen is somewhere by Jean-Marie's gas station. So he wouldn't know the price of anything, maybe, other than a ginger ale. Maybe that's what he knows the price of, or cheeses, because that's what he says he could afford. St. Lucians are being represented in the parliament by both men and women, in the cabinet. And these are the decisions that come out of the cabinet. Rather than adding 700, you choose to remove 700, and you talk about putting the people first. So apart from removing the 700, they have cancelled school sports for this year. Cancelled school sports. And you know why they have cancelled school sports? Because they took all the national lottery's money. Now we've been talking about the 80 million, but have we added the 70 million of interest on this? That makes it $150 million, and $800,000 every month from the national lotteries now is paying a loan for what we do not know where the money disappeared to. So, no school sports. The Labour Party has sold 700 million US for 100 million US to Galaxy. And I want anybody in the Labour Party to challenge me on this. 7,000 passports at 100,000 US per passport. In return, we were expected to get 100 million US of infrastructure projects. So you sold 700 million US for 100 million US. You gave Galaxy 1.2 billion for a $310 million hotel. And you are telling me that these people they in their right mind? So when my colleague Mr. Montoute says that the Prime Minister needs a psychological evaluation, I support him 100% on this. Nobody in their right mind could do these things. Then you think that is all? They gave GPH $400 million for $45 million. 400 million US dollars for 45 million US dollars investment. They didn't get the money. It's an investment. And we have not seen a dollar of investment from GPH. At the same time, on the false pretense, the Labour Party is charging us a 2.5% health and security levy that is doing nothing to help our health situation and our security situation. Healthcare, according to the doctors, and I have the letter from the Medical and Dental Association right here, is the worst it has ever been in the history of this country. So, if a government has a report card of this nature, and the PRO of the Labour Party would attack Rick Wayne and Timothy Polio, and in the same statement declare that Musa is doing a damn good job with healthcare. So, I will read this paragraph because I want people to know it by memory. First of all, the letter says, I write on behalf of the physician body of the Owen King European Union Hospital to express our utter dismay and disgust with the current state of affairs at the island's main hospital and by extension our healthcare system. This is what the doctors have said. Not one doctor, the physician body at the OKEU hospital. And then the Labour Party comes out with a statement attacking the Medical and Dental Association and at the same time telling you how great a job Musa is doing. I want to know whether this job is great because of the number of St. Lucians who are dying in St. Lucia. Is Labour Party making sure that enough St. Lucians die so that all the passports they have sold, they can make place for these foreign persons to come and reside here as citizens? The letter goes on to say the consensus of the physician body is that the board of directors, ostensibly tasked with the drafting policy to allow for the efficient running of the hospitals, has failed miserably in the said task. Who appointed the board? The cabinet of ministers. So that they would allow every doctor at the hospital to resign rather than remove Musa and the board to try and save the lives of St. Lucians. How much more wickedness can Philip J. Pierre and his administration do to the people of St. Lucia? In their own report, final report and recommendations, the St. Jude Hospital Reconstruction Project, the special committee submitted on the 28th of October 2021, on page 30, transition plan 18 months. So they said in 18 months they would have moved from the George Odlum Stadium to the St. Jude Hospital, the original site. Today, more than 36 months later, maybe to be more precise, 40 months later, there's no indication that we can move to the St. Jude site. And to further complicate matters, when we told you they lied to you about St. Jude, that 15 or 20 million chemical and a few buckets of paint could not fix St. Jude, you did not believe us. But if you look at the budget estimates today, in the budget there is allocated $265 million for the completion of an 80-year-old building. And they have lied to us again by telling us that they are working on the original St. Jude. And if you go to St. Jude today, the two buildings that they are working on were the two buildings they call the box, the physiotherapy and the dialysis unit, the new buildings built under the Alan Chasney-led administration. And that is the first place they are going to move people into. St. Lucia, we are calling on you to join in the rescue mission for our country. Our country deserves better than what we have received. We can do better than what Philip J. Pierre and his present crop of ministers are doing. They promise you that they would put you first, but you don't exist. That is why 3,000 people no longer exist on the employed or unemployed list. That is why 700 people have vanished from the list of people needing assistance in this country. And all of that is done secretly. While at the same time we are hearing thousands of dollars being spent in cemeteries, millions for that matter, in cemeteries, and work is being paid for work that was never done. And we have appealed to the special prosecutor to look into these matters. And while 3,000 St. Lucians have been erased from the employed or unemployed list, Reno Gajada is given carte blanche license. And we need to call on the labor minister to tell us how all these imported workers at St. Jude, how did they get work permits? So you are telling me that there are thousands of young men in St. Lucia who cannot find employment, gainful employment. But you can grant over 300 work permits for basic laborer jobs in this country. And then the Chinese on the other side, Galaxy, had more. So what is happening to us in St. Lucia? I am appealing to all St. Lucians. Fly an orange flag. Fly an orange ribbon. Tie it on your house. Tied by the flowers. Anything orange. Place it on your vehicle. We are not asking you to join the United Workers' Party. We are asking you to say to the government, we are not pleased with what you are doing. You waived the 2.5% for an office building. You waived VAT for the National Trust. And the rest of us in St. Lucia, we have to pay the 2.5 and we have to pay VAT in these hard times. And we are paying $16.50 for a gallon of fuel when a barrel of fuel is only $67. St. Lucia, it is your time to make your voice heard. And if you are afraid of being victimized by them, if you speak out, fly an orange flag for your country. I thank you, and I hand over to my colleague, Mr. Montoute, who will do the final part of this morning's briefing.
Thank you very much, Deputy Political Leader, Mr. Guy Joseph. And let me say a special good morning to those of you viewing online, and a hearty welcome to the usual viewers we have in the diaspora who continue to take an interest in what is happening in your homeland. And today I'm going to touch on our healthcare system. Among the many crises that we have in St. Lucia today, this is one of great concern. I'm not suggesting that crime is not of great concern. I'm not suggesting that the cost of living that we see that's been compounded by the 2.5% levy that government has imposed on us is not of concern to you. But I'm saying healthcare is one of the big concerns, and it is a major crisis today. Now, if I'm to take you back historically, to just describe to you what obtained here in St. Lucia before the St. Lucia Labour Party assumed office. Way back, the United Workers' Party, in its visioning and planning, decided that they were going to establish a healthcare system that would, at the base, be supported by a number of health centers at the community level. And so, today, we have a situation where we have about 35 health centers spread throughout the country, which is in close proximity to all our major population centers, that is intended to provide primary health care to our citizens. And of course, so that for minor basic health situations, you would not have to travel all the way to a hospital, one of the hospitals, to get the care that you need. As such, also easing the pressures that would otherwise be placed on the services of our hospitals. Now, those primary healthcare facilities at the time were staffed with a resident nurse, so that while the doors may not have been opened for 24 hours, service would be available upon request, since the nurse would be on site and all you had to do was to call, knock at the doors, and it would be open for your service to be provided to you. I mean, we're in a different times now, and I fully well understand that. And the time has come where we need to begin to look at official operational hours being extended, like was done in the last term of the Allen-led government administration, where the Grosley Polyclinic's hours were extended from 8 to 4:30 to 8 to midnight, with a view to eventually having round-the-clock service. What ought to be done with our 35 health centers around the island, 1 polyclinic in Grosley, and 5 public hospitals? And I say 5 public hospitals because we also have Tapion Hospital, which is a private hospital. But in addition, we have the Castries, in Castries, the OKEU Hospital, the Victoria Hospital, which is now shut and inoperational. We have the Soufre Hospital, we have the Dennery Hospital, and of course, we have the controversial St. Jude's Hospital. What a UWP administration sought to do in its wisdom, in its visioning and planning, was to establish top-class health care at our national hospitals, namely the OKEU Hospital in Castries and the St. Jude Hospital to service the South. We know since the fire, some 14 years or so ago, what has transpired in terms of the delays in construction. But what the last administration under the leadership of Alan Chasney attempted to do was to build a completely new hospital that was up to international standard, a state-of-the-art hospital that would provide first-class healthcare services to the people of the South. And I always remind people that apart from all the sophisticated equipment that would have been catered for, there was also a helipad in that, situated at that hospital. These are the modern facilities of any hospital that can consider itself to be state-of-the-art of the international standard. But instead, we have a government that does not think that you deserve first-class health care, and so they have taken us down a retrogressive path where they have diminished the services that are provided. Starting with St. Jude, what they have done was to go back to the old building that is over 80 years old, that is not designed for the purpose of a hospital, and that would require a lot of retrofitting that would cost a tremendous amount of resources. They have decided, because it was the Alan Chasney-led administration that began the modern hospital, they would not complete it, but instead spend hundreds of millions of dollars more than what has already been spent to go back to that old hospital. Had our government understood that government is continuous and that government is there to serve the people and to do what is in the best interest of the people, they would have continued the new modern hospital that would have taken them a mere 6 months to complete with just about $50 million, as opposed to this hospital that has not been completed in over 3 years, and we are hearing figures of over $200 million to be expended in addition to what has already been spent. To compound the disaster, we have a Minister of Health, Honorable Moses Shabatis, who is clueless as far as healthcare is concerned. And I say to you, the demise of our healthcare system has everything to do with poor administration, poor governance, lack of visioning, and poor planning. And so, as a result of this, we saw that the existing facilities deteriorate to the point that some have been closed, and those that remain open are undersupplied in terms of equipment and supplies, medical supplies that would be required for patients, as well as we see that the government has also created a situation that has discouraged our human resources at the hospitals and health centers, that we have our medical professionals leaving in droves. This leaves St. Lucia in a critical crisis. And I say so because even as important as education is, the missteps that are made with education, we can argue we can catch up later. Because there are those of us who left primary school years ago barely functionally literate, but today we have gone back into the education system, educated ourselves, and some even have reached the level of having university degrees. Unfortunately, we do not have that privilege when it comes to healthcare, because what is happening now is catastrophic to the extent that the failures of the system results in the death of our citizens. And so for minor health issues, some people are losing their lives. That, I want to remind you, is irreversible, and that cannot be corrected down the road. Death is the ultimate. When you have passed, that is the end. And so, am I to think that our government is so callous, so inconsiderate, so uncaring, that even when it comes to the lives of our citizens in St. Lucia, that they don't give a hoot? I have heard the Prime Minister say that he endorses and fully supports his health minister. A health minister that has presided over the worst era in our healthcare system, some services. our Medical and Dental Association indicated to us that what obtains today is the worst that they have ever experienced, the worst that they have ever seen in the history of this country. And you're going to say to me that you are satisfied with that? You're going to say to me that the responsibility that you're charged with to provide health care services to St. Lucians, you are just going to play politics as opposed to dealing with the situation to ameliorate the crisis that we are facing and to save lives in this country. I want to say to St. Lucians that there is a better way. We know a better way, and we have to go back to a better way. I am very impressed with the plans, first of all, with the management of our healthcare system under the United Workers' Party, and let me just give you a quick refresher as to what obtained under the United Workers' Party a mere 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, and beyond. We had a situation where we were faced with COVID. We made a transition to the OKEU hospital, and we converted the Victoria Hospital to a respiratory hospital to facilitate the care of COVID patients. During that time, we were able to manage that global pandemic that had never been experienced, never been seen before, in such a responsible and competent manner that we got the attention of the international community, and we got high praises as a country for our management of the virus. Today, that Victoria Hospital is closed, and let us not forget that the intention and plans of the United Workers' Party was to compensate for the closure of the Castries Health Center. We would have converted the Victoria Hospital to a polyclinic that would serve the Castries Basin, and eventually to reopen the Castries Health Center where basic primary healthcare services would be provided. That, ladies and gentlemen, would take a lot of pressure off the National Hospital, the OKU Hospital. And as such, we wouldn't have a situation of patients turning up at the hospital, not seeing a doctor for days, I am told, and being in corridors and on the floor waiting to see a doctor. During which time, of course, in many cases, their health situation deteriorates and becomes worse. I say to St. Lucians that there is in fact a better way. We have forgone the possibility of having a health insurance for every St. Lucian that would provide at least $75,000 coverage for medical procedures, unlike what obtains today, where majority, I'm going to hazard a guess and say at least 90% of St. Lucians do not have medical insurance, and as such, we see all those GoFundMe, those barbecues, those fundraising activities. Whenever people are afflicted, especially with life-threatening illnesses, we have to go around raising funds, waiting to accumulate the funds, during which time people's health deteriorate, and in many cases, some of the people end up perishing. That is something we have to go back to if we truly care about the health of our people in this country. I say so because it is no secret that around the world, health care is very expensive, and we must devise means and ways of financing it. We must make the resources available. We must find a way to make it happen, especially for the poorer and the indigent of this country, who have no option but to depend on our public health services. So while the government officials perhaps are insensitive and unconcerned because they have options at their disposal, they are flown to Martinique, Miami, and elsewhere at taxpayers' expense should they have any mishap in terms of their health situation. The rest of us do not have that privilege. And so we must ensure that we establish proper healthcare services right here in St. Lucia that will be available to every St. Lucian. And so I look forward to the return of the United Workers' Party when we will complete the modern state-of-the-art St. Jude's Hospital, where the The patients and staff of the George Odlum Stadium will go into an actually built-for-purpose facility called the St. Jude Hospital. That in itself will increase the standard, the level, the comfort, the security, and the standard of health services generally to the people in the South. I want to see us continue to develop that hospital where we would have an international hospital on the top floor, where services that we have to fly out of St. Lucia for will be available here, with the intention that even overseas patients will come to St. Lucia for those specialized services. I want to see us go back to an OKEU hospital that has the supplies required, the equipment required, and the conditions required that we can maintain, and keep our healthcare professionals who are required to provide the high-level standard of service that is needed. The Prime Minister said it is normal, and the health professionals and administrative staff who have left in droves are merely leaving to go to greener pastures. May I remind the Prime Minister that those very health professionals were aware of the greener pastures. The greener pastures existed when they made the decision and they made the choice to provide their services instead to their countrymen in their homeland. Today, your poor governance and maladministration has forced them out of frustration, out of our facilities, leaving us, the citizens of St. Lucia, in a desperately dire situation that can have life-ending consequences for the average St. Lucian. We must, as St. Lucians, take cognizance of this, take a stance against this situation, because it is our life, it is our health that has been jeopardized and put at risk to such an extent. And when you have a government that is not willing to stand up and take action to live up to its responsibilities, you must stand up and take action yourself. I remember when the president of the Medical and Dental Association issued that letter to the board, the reaction, the response of the government of St. Lucia. One government minister abused the president of the Medical and Dental Association and called her a political hack. That is the kind of response that is meted out to our professionals in this country by government officials, hand-picked men who were brought into our cabinet by Prime Minister Philippe J. Pierre. That is the lack of respect, the lack of regard and disdain that they have for healthcare professionals and for the plight of you, the average St. Lucian. So, the time has come where we must reverse the situation that exists. In Castries, a highly densely populated area where we have over 60,000 people in that vicinity, we have merely the Entrepot Health Center. Some people go to the Leclerc Health Center, and it is my understanding that some of those facilities, such as Entrepot, is only operational part-time. It is not always fully functional. So that means that it is limited services that come out of those areas for those people. Those people there, some of whom are elderly, some of whom are incapacitated, most of whom are very sick, have to find their way at greater cost, effort, and discomfort to the polyclinic in Grosile, to the OKEU hospital, further compounding the situation that exists at that hospital in terms of overcrowding and pressures on the staff that is there. That is unacceptable. We have the health center that by now something should have been done with it in Castries. We have to do what is necessary to reopen the Masha Health Center. We have the Victoria Hospital that is intended to become a polyclinic. Something has to be done about it. And in 3 years, nothing has been done. And we also, in the interim, to ease the burden on the services that are provided in Castries, the United Workers' Party administration solicited a field hospital from the Americans. If we cannot urgently put those facilities from a physical standpoint in a position to be open to the public, we can erect that field hospital somewhere in the Castries Basin where it will be accessible to the citizens of Castries, where they can go to and get the kind of healthcare services that they deserve. In the meantime, I call on the government to please take note that as a poor country, as a developing country, we reach out to partners and other friendly governments to make donations, to make contributions, to give grants to our country. When they do so, we must show our appreciation and gratitude by ensuring that we utilize, whether it is financial, whether it is physical or infrastructural, we have to show our appreciation by making the best possible use of those gifts that are given to us. I know for a fact that the hospital that is in storage right now, it is intended that it be set up periodically to prevent degradation, to prevent it from deteriorating and going to ruins, and so to ensure that the air conditioning, the generator, the equipment, and all of those things remain functional. That is not being done. So it is another waste of our resources. And so we call on the government to understand that they have a responsibility to the people of St. Lucia to step up and do the job that is expected of them. You promised very much. Honorable Prime Minister, you dubbed yourself as the most readied leader in this country. You dubbed yourself as a 6-star general. Step up to the plate. You asked for it. It was given to you. Do what you must do for the benefit of the people of St. Lucia. I want to inform you, sir, that you have been a dismal failure. Your administration has been an embarrassment and a threat to St. Lucians. And I say a threat to St. Lucians because not only have we seen a decline in our economic fortunes, compounded by your policies such as the implementation and imposition of a 2.5% levy on St. Lucians, but also you have presided over, according to the St. Lucia Medical and Dental Association, the worst healthcare situation in the history of this country. So, you as Prime Minister, as Minister of National Security, you have presided over the worst situation as far as crime is concerned. For sure, under your watch, we have set records in terms of the number of homicides that exist. Only 2 days ago, in the last 2 days, we have heard of 2 or 3 more homicides. I know these are not concerns of yours. I know you're not going to hear a word from you. And like I always say, these things happen and you pretend as if it does not exist, as if you do not know. We don't hear a peep from our Prime Minister. Not a peep when these things happen. So, it is your responsibility, it is your job to do something about it. You asked for the job, you got the job, do the job. And we as St. Lucians cannot continue to perish in this way. When it comes to healthcare, we have loss of life. When it comes to crime situation, more loss of life. Even our road situations, which causes accidents, more loss of life. We cannot have a government that is so callous and uncaring that even in the face of the demise of its citizens, you refuse to act. We remember what happened during COVID. When you came in on the tail end of COVID. The United Workers' Party, like I said, handled the crisis. It was a global crisis, but that was never seen before, but we handled it admirably with competence and proficiency to the effect that only about 80 St. Lucians had lost their lives when we demitted office. Upon assuming office, sir, I want to remind you that all of a sudden, over 400 St. Lucians lost their lives. And that is not accidental. That is because of poor management, mismanagement of the healthcare system, mismanagement of the protocols that were already in place, that you allowed people to violate, that you encouraged people to violate to the extent that those who were punished for violating those protocols, one of your first acts was to expunge their records. And these are the wrong signals to send. We know that your government has been accused of having criminals in your ranks. What you have to do is not encourage more criminals at the societal level, but to clean up your government and set a good example to let St. Lucians know that we are a civilized country, we are a democratic country, we are a country that operates with rules, with order, and that at the end of the day, it's not a free-for-all, and that any country that has to be well run and not run into ruins like we are heading, that to be a dysfunctional state, we must observe decorum, we must observe protocols, we must observe the rule of law in this country. So, St. Lucians, since we have set some ultimatums for the government, we ask that, among other things, that the healthcare system be addressed. The 1st of November has come, the 1st of November has gone, and the government, in its normal, usual, disdainful, dismissive manner, has not paid any attention to the cries of St. Lucians. And so, St. Lucians, we are not going to continue to cry, we are going to take a stand. And so we are asking that the protest action begin with you. And I'm not asking you to take a political stance, I'm asking you to take a stance in the interest of your country, in the interest of your children, in the interest of your future. And so we are going to begin by indicating our disapproval, our disappointment with what obtains today and what passes as government by demonstrating that we are not satisfied by displaying a yellow ribbon on your car, on your homes, wherever you may, because the color, sorry, not yellow, but orange. I mean, I'm not into partisan political mood right now. It's a national effort that's going to take place. The color will be orange. As you know, orange is the color of protest, and we are going to show in a subtle way that we are not satisfied by flying our orange ribbons. If the government does not take heed, the actions will be escalated, and we will see more protest action. In the meantime, there are other issues, such as the crime situation, such as the levy that has been imposed on us, such as the GPH situation, such as the corruption in CIP and in government generally, the Ministry of Housing, that we are asking that something be done about it. And in the meantime, we are going to see St. Lucians who are unhappy and not satisfied with what's going on, taking on their own little protest action in various sites in this country to let the government know that we are not happy, we're not satisfied, and we're not going to stand for any more of this. If you don't take a stand, St. Lucians, today, tomorrow may be too late. The degradation may get to such an extent that there will be nothing to fight for tomorrow. So now is the time for you to take a stand. So I want to thank you, and I want to call on you to be a patriotic St. Lucian, to be concerned not about the politics, but about our future, but about our country, and about our children, and do something about what is happening now, because if you think it's bad, it can get much worse if we allow the downward slide to continue. I thank you.